We've been really interested in how the web will work in augmented and virtual reality at 4Kitchens for many, many years now. So when Apple started to release those promotional videos about the Apple Vision Pro about a year ago at this point, of course, we were very, very excited. And I was particularly interested to see just how much they focused on the web in those promotional videos. They could have done a lot of things, and they did do a lot of things in those videos, but they really did emphasize the web a lot. And that was really interesting to me. Now, in those videos, they did a lot with, here's a rectangle. Here's Safari. The web is going to be crisp. There's going to be easy to read text, but still there was just a lot of, here's a rectangle and you can look at the web in a rectangle. Obviously, that's the first draft of what the web is going to look like in an AR, VR environment. And I think that there's a lot that can be done in the future with the web in immersive environments like that. I want to spend a couple minutes talking about what that might look like in the future, because we've already done some experimentation with that in the past. And I'm really excited to see what a device as advanced as the Apple Vision Pro could bring to market in the near future. I think we've all played around with Pokemon Go style AR 3D elements where you can point your phone at something in space and something appears. That exists today, that works today. There are some things that you can do on Wikipedia, for example, where you can drop a 3D artifact into your living room and view it in something approximating real life size. So maybe that's an astronaut spacesuit or the lunar rover or something like that. And that's a little bit of a novelty, but you're still viewing it through this very small viewport, and you're having to walk around it in this very awkward way. But with something like an Apple Vision Pro, it can really exist in full real space, in a way that feels very real. So how will we be able to harness three-dimensional experiences and three-dimensional objects in ways that are really meaningful in the future? How can we use them for education? How can we use them to engender empathy? How can we use them to share experiences in the future? The Apple Vision Pro has the ability to share three-dimensional videos and photographs in really interesting ways. How can that technology translate to the web? How can we start to share those things on the web? I'm very curious to see how that will start to take shape, so to speak. Spatial navigation is another thing that I'm really curious about. Will we start to use the web in a way that is more three-dimensional to navigate? Will there be elements on web pages that make sense to actually start to emerge from the page or be dropped onto spaces in our workspace, on the coffee table, on the desk, on the chair? Are there elements of web pages that start to fall out of the rectangle of the browser and exist in our physical space in ways that are useful, in ways that make sense, in ways that enhance the experience? And then how do we start to navigate web pages when components of web pages can start to exist in space all around us? Do we start to sort of swim through that three-dimensional website? Do we use gesture controls to swipe through entire pages? Or are we moving pieces of web pages out of the way backwards and forwards? Are we pulling things towards us? Are we pushing things away? Or are we simply just flicking backwards and forwards and pointing or looking at links? How do we start to interact with these things in space? How do we move forwards and backwards, and what does that mean in a spatial environment? One of the most obvious use cases for AR, VR, immersive content is e-commerce. Having virtual showrooms, being able to look at products in real environments, in life size, being able to rotate them in space, see them up close. Obviously, this is how we will be interacting with things. Being able to create a photorealistic avatar of ourselves and dress ourselves in the clothing that we're considering buying. Being able to give ourselves virtual haircuts prior to going to the barbershop or salon or whatever. These are all things that are basically possible now, given the right app, given the right software integration. These use cases are pretty obvious, but what does that look like in a non-e-commerce setting? What does a showroom type application, what does a physical object type application look like when we don't necessarily apply it to buying and selling products? How can we apply that to something like a museum or a learning environment? What does it mean when a museum can become fully virtual, where we can visit a museum and really move through it in space in a meaningful way that is fully immersive all the way around, or in a way where the museum comes to us and visits us in our workspace, where we don't necessarily walk the halls of a museum, but the artifacts come to us and sit on our kitchen table or hang on our wall. What does it look like when we can dress up our living room with works of art from the Art Institute of Chicago or from the Louvre? Do we pay license fees for that? Or is that some kind of an art subscription? Or is that simply offered to us for free by some benefactor? What is our relationship to art and the cost of that? What is our relationship to art in those instances? How do you think we are going to use the web in AR and VR? How do you see immersive content and technology working in the near future? I'd love to hear all about it. Let us know in the comments below.